have recently came across this quote by Socrates from 469 BC, which says that the children now love luxuries, they have bad manners, contempt for authority, and talk too much. Imagine Socrates said this in 469 BC. Remember that. Yes, even 2000 years back, people were busy blaming the other generations rather than next generations. And even so many years later, today, the funny part is that even we are busy blaming the next generation and we think that the next generation is going to ruin the world. But wait, boomers say that these millennials are lazy. Millennials say that Gen Zs cannot survive without Wi-Fi. And you and I can only wait for Gen Alpha to come to us and say that, hey Gen Zs, you don't even have the AI parents. And of course, Gen Zs are famous for Riz, simp, baddie, red flags, main character energy, delulu, etc. right? Basically, the Oxford Dictionary had to adjust because of this generation. But let's be honest, is that all Gen Z is? Just TikTok dances and iced lattes? Or is there something deeper? Let's understand this generation through a psychology viewpoint. And trust me, psychology does explain that why this generation behaves the way they do. Okay, disclaimer. Before we dive into this video and the topic, I would like to clarify that I have zero intentions to blame or disrespect any generations, be it boomers, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, etc. So my dear boomers, Gen X, millennials, all of you, I get you, I love you, and please don't cancel me from the family dinner. Okay, first let's get the statistics correct. Generations are not just the random horoscope data. It's actually statistically divided. 1946 to 1964, baby boomers. 1965 to 1980, Gen X. 1981 to 1996, millennials. And 1997 to 2012, my dear Gen Zs. And then after, it's Gen Alpha. So considering all of this, let me tell you that Gen Z makes the 1/3 of the global population at this date. So I'm sorry to break it to you, but if you are stereotyping this generation, you are actually stereotyping the 2.5 billion people, and good luck with that. So what exactly is the psychology of generations? Now here's exactly where the psychology drops the mind. Each generation does not just appear randomly like a new iPhone model. Every generation is interconnected with each other. And there is a psychological term for it: intergenerational transmission. It's a fancy word, but to make you understand in the simplest way possible, the parenting styles, cultural habits, and emotional struggles creates a certain patterns which are carry forwarded from one generation to another. And they pass on consciously, not unconsciously. For example, boomers valued stability, but Gen X were known for chasing the careers, whereas millennials demanded the work-life balance. And because of this discovery, Gen Zs don't want to die for 9-to-5 jobs, rather wants to find purpose in everything. So when we say that Gen Z is a little oversensitive, we should rather focus on where it is coming from. Maybe it's because older generations cracked open the conversations of mental health, and now Gen Z is just finishing the task. But what exactly is the science behind this Generation Z? So after reading, observing a lot, I have listed down the few traits which helps us discover the science behind this generation. First, most globally aware generation. A Deloitte survey found that 70% of Generation Z actively worry about climate change. They actually don't care about saving money, rather they care about saving the planet. Meanwhile, the other generations are busy asking for the plastic bags at the Kirana store. Second, mental health champions. Recent APA studies shows that Gen Z reports the highest amount of anxiety and depression cases. But here's a twist. They are the generation who are most likely to take support from therapy, mindfulness, journaling, etc. Basically, yes, they cry and complain a lot, but they are also somebody who will work for it rather than sitting on the problem. Third, digital natives. Yes, you will tell me that Aditi, come on, they are always on their phone. They have never seen a world without smartphones. And the downside of it is that average attention span of Generation Z is 8 seconds. Imagine that they can tolerate one thing only for 8 seconds. But do you know what's the upside point of it? A study named as Practicing Sensibility Information has proven that Gen Zs are well aware and they are so much into information that they often evaluate and analyze everything smartly. They don't just think about, is this information true or not? They also look at the source it's coming from, why is it said, and what is the social context behind it. So they are the generations you can never make fool out of. And this also means that this generation is more likely to question all the narratives and push back against misinformation. Fourth point, value-driven. Generation Z is quite value-driven generation. They care about the authenticity, social justice, and inclusivity. In short, if your brand or your products are fake, Generation Z will cancel you. And the fifth point, my favorite, critical thinking. Yes, critical thinking is a 21st century skills which are now being taught in the schools as well, and I'm so glad about it. And Generation Z are super thorough with critical thinking. Gen Zs have a habit of asking why for everything. They give and take reasoning for every actions, be it political, personal, social, economical, etc. And we all know that they are so gutsy that they can even question the government for it. Speaking of the traits of Gen Zs, I want to now talk about why Gen Zs are so misunderstood. And here's where the society messes it up. When Gen Z talk about feelings, society says they are snowflakes. When Gen Zs talk about climate, society says that they are over-dramatic. When Gen Zs protest, they just name them as lazy rebels. Take the recent Nepal protest incident as an example. Thousands of students were demanding accountability. But what were the media headlines? Reckless youth creating chaos. They were just taking stand for the fairness in the system. And what was wrong in that? Second, Kenya youth-led movements. There have been massive protests against high taxes, injustice, corruption, etc. in Kenya. And these protests were also led by young people. And you know what? These were not the normal street protests. They were being undertaken in artistic forms through music, poetry, dance. And they led a sustained momentum. And there are several other fights globally which are undertaken by the Generation Z in order to fight injustice, climate change, gender inequality, etc. And why am I sharing all these things to you? To make you understand that Generation Z has a bigger picture than the stereotypical frame which we have developed in our heads. And of course, I do understand that this generation has a lot many flaws. And they are bigger ones. They doom scroll like it's cardio. They literally get brain fogging at age 22. Like bro, you have not even paid your first EMI. And yes, somehow they are always into some kind of aesthetic competition. But let's be real. Every generation has some or the other flaws. Boomers were called materialistic. Generation X were cynical. Millennials have always been called entitled. But Gen Zs, they are a little over-criticized on an HD level because everything they do is online and available for people to see. But that's unfair, na? I'll just quickly give you an example. For example, you are adopting a plant. Now you want that plant to grow in a beautiful way possible and give those colorful flowers to you. Okay, so what you're doing is every day you are nurturing the plant with the enough nutrients, the chemicals, the fertilizers, water, etc. which is required. And on the days when you not give that to the plant fails to grow. There's no photosynthesis happening, right? Now just consider that plant as the younger generation and consider yourself as the generation you belong to. Now the nutrients, chemical, fertilizers, water, etc. are nothing but the cultural habits, emotions, experiences, etc. which you are actually carry forwarding or providing to the next generation in order to nurture that. Your intentions might be right or wrong. Consciously or subconsciously, you're passing things on, right? And if that plant doesn't grow well, will you be busy stereotyping or ranting about that plant? Or will rather work on how you can critically analyze what's going wrong and provide the plant with the necessary things? So my dear, if we are blaming the next generation, we are directly or indirectly blaming ourselves also, because almost all of us are born with the same kind of frontal lobe, and it is only the things which we pour into our brain wires and unwires the experiences we have in our life. So yes, Generation Z might be living on the slangs like Riz and red flags, but let's not raise any more red flags in the society. They might be looking like they are glued to the screens all the time, but let's break the science behind those flaws and see how we can invest those flaws and make the best out of it for the society. And this can only happen when we stop looking down to this generation, when we stop blaming this generation for everything. Because we like it or not, Generation Z are the future of our countries, economies and cultures. And if we keep mocking them instead of mentoring them, we will lose out on a very conscious, corrected and courageous generation out there. And do you remember the Socrates quotes from the start of this video? Yes, if people are blaming the younger folks 2000 years ago as well, let's not just repeat the history. Because remember, even if we make a little mistake with providing the right things to our plant, there's always a chance to removing the yellow leaves and keeping the greener ones and start from the scratch. So if this video made you rethink about a lot of things, hit subscribe and help me reach it to the right people, or with someone who engages themselves with such stereotypical thinking. Also, if you agree or disagree with my point of view, do comment down below and I would love to read them. Until then, see you in the next video.